freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your recap episode for this week's Open Championship. Joining me to break it all down, Patrick McDonald is here.
I've got good news and bad news, gang.
Right.
The good news, I'm wearing pants. The bad news, I'm wearing pants, as discussed on Thursday's episode. So, look, congratulations, hat tip to Brian Harman. And sadly, we got to wait a long time till the next one.
Greg DuCharme is here. That was a downer. Greg, do you have anything more upbeat you could give us?
Now, I didn't know we were going to give it away so early on in the show.
People hate
who
that.
won.
Tell him to come after me. I don't care.
Spoiler alert, Patrick spoiled it. But, I'll add something a little more uplifting. What a week for Brian Harman. Not so much for everybody else. But still, really cool golf course, really cool experience. It was really close to being a phenomenal tournament. You just had one guy who just outraced everybody, and it kind of made that second portion of the leaderboard, which was, pretty cool. It took away a little bit of that luster. But all in all, it was a great win. Well deserved win.
The only thing people hate more than Patrick spoiling who won 90 seconds into the show is when Josh just puts the winner in the thumbnail and the title and the description. They hate that.
Do people really get mad about this stuff?
I think that the three people who do care all tell us that they care. You know what I mean?
One's my burner account.
Like, how are 100% of the people who care tell us that we spoiled them?
How are you watching if you're deep enough in to watch a recap or listen to a recap podcast about a tournament and you don't know who won? I don't know. How are there people in that Venn diagram?
Buddy, I don't know, but they exist. That's Kyle Porter. Hi, Kyle.
Hey, Rick. I was thinking about this, Greg, as you were talking. It's funny how if this is Rahm or Rory or Spieth or fill in with whatever star you want, it's a breathtaking, there's never been anybody better than this. And it's Brian Harman and everybody's like, make a triple somewhere, please make a triple. Just to make it a golf tournament. It's an extraordinary performance, but unfortunately for him, it got a little bit drowned out not drowned out, but everybody was just hoping. You're not rooting against him. You're just rooting for drama, right? And that's, I guess, always the case whenever somebody who's not kind of an all-timer, generational player laps the field in a tournament.
Yeah, exactly. That's the plight of, like, if Rory wins by 6, Patrick's pants are off. Let's start with the Sunday. Let's start with the Sunday round here, Patrick, because it was exactly what he had to do. It was 1 under 70. So he goes 69-70. He plays the final 2 rounds in 3 under par. That's plenty good because he ends up winning by 6 strokes. So let's go through this round. I mean, it was very similar in a blueprint of what Saturday was. He kind of got off to a slow start, made a couple of bogeys early, rights the ship before he makes the turn, and then kind of just strategizes and gets his way through the final 9.
It was a really professional final 36 holes. Like you said, he got punched in the mouth there early in both the third round and the final round. Things could have gotten a little hairy there once he found the gorse bush, and then the king of TIO, Jon Rahm, finds the one safe spot amongst all the gorse bushes, and suddenly he sees his lead cut to 3, comes back just like Saturday. Birdie on the par 3, makes another one on top of that, and he's standing there on 9T with his lead ballooned to 6 strokes all of a sudden. 1 hour into the final round, it was down to 3. An hour later, it was up to 6. It really is kind of just the ebbs and flow of major championship golf. So I know we kind of get ahead of ourselves with some of these guys making early birdies, and then we don't really forget. We just get excited since the leaders haven't played those holes either. And he did make a mess of the easiest hole on the golf course, but came back, showed a ton of resolve, a ton of nerve. And to me, it was really, I said it on Thursday or Friday show, If he just avoided the bunkers, he was going to win this golf tournament. And up until the 72nd hole, he hadn't hit it in the bunker the entire weekend. So to do that, it was a lot of just major championship boring golf. And the back nine was pretty stress-free. I know he made a 40-foot bomb, but that's just really gravy on top of what was a dominating performance.
That was one thing real quick I want to jump in that I was thinking about, Patrick, is, and I'd love to get Greg, you're probably deeper on like strategy, think like the strategic thinking than I am. So I'd love to get your take on this, but it seemed like because he built that 5-stroke lead. So Hoylake, to me, it struck me as a golf course where you got to hit tremendous shots, but it's like a combo of that and making wise, manageable choices. And he almost took the need to hit tremendous shots out of the equation because there was no risk that he still had to hit good shots, but he didn't have to take on a ton of risk over the last 36 to shoot. What did he shoot yesterday? 71-70 on the weekend, or 70? What was it? 69-70. He almost took one side of the equation completely out. Like you hear about guys taking one side of the golf course completely out of play. He took one side of the equation of playing Hoylake completely out of play. And I think that physically made it a lot easier for him, even though mentally it's still just extraordinarily difficult to lead a major for that long by that much on a weekend.
The thing that I would add, which I think was really important for him, and something that Rick and I talked about last night, the reason why after Friday's round, he was in such a good position is because of his driving accuracy. You can take half of the equation out of play when you hit every fairway. I mean, he only missed 2 fairways today. So
I would argue that he hit every fairway because he didn't have to take on some of the lines that other guys were taking on, right? I guess that's sort of what I'm saying.
And then the other thing is he was able to, which when you watch a lot of these rounds and a lot of these guys play, it was really hard to get it close to the hole with your second shot. So now you're hitting it to 20, 25, outside of 20 feet into most of these greens. And well, who's the best putter? Well, Brian Harman is the best putter in the field this week. One of the best on the PGA Tour. So in a strange way, because of the layout of the golf course, it almost became a putting contest, even though it was really difficult, right? Because for Brian especially, he's able to keep it wide side. He's never short-sided. He's never in real trouble. If he misses a green, it's in a manageable area where he's got some space. And then with lag putting and getting a couple of bonus putts to fall, you just start to extend your lead. So because of that driving accuracy today, and again, I don't know if he really had a choice. I don't know if Brian Harman has the firepower of a Rory McIlroy where it's really a decision. How much do I bite off at number 3, for instance, or 18? No, you're going to play it to the corner of the dog leg. I mean, a lot of these bunkers today, he was able to hit driver that can't reach the bunkers, so it plays wide. And I think that was a really big advantage, but the ability to put the ball in play off the tee really gave him the opportunity to make this round look easy. There weren't very many difficult decisions for him to make after hitting it in the fairway. He played an easy golf course.
It's probably more so choosing to hit away from the bunkers than it is choosing to take on some of the lines, right? And I think that it almost seemed like, and again, I wasn't there. I've not played the golf course. It almost seemed like an easy, like if you didn't take on some of the trouble, it doesn't seem like that hard of a golf course to shoot 70 to 72, right? Which is all he needed to do. But if you do take on, and this is what I thought was the brilliance of the course, if you do take on bunkers and internal OB and all these different things, then you bring a lot of variance into play. You could shoot 63 on an easier day. You could also shoot 81, if you start hitting it into some of those bunkers. So I thought that made it made Harman's job at least physically a little bit easier, but it also, I thought, made the tournament for the most part until Harman took the lead, like really interesting in terms of the way that the guys chose to play the golf course.
From a strategic sense and a statistical sense, Patrick, one of the things that Greg and I talked about was you kind of had to be one or the other. So taking the trouble off the tee out of play is done with either a ton of accuracy or a ton of distance. So look at the top three on the leaderboard. Brian Harman, Tom Kim, Sepp Straka are like 3 of the top 20 most accurate drivers of the golf ball on tour. Then you get like Rahm, Rory, Viktor, Cam Young. That's like guys who take it out of play in a different way because they could take it over. So you had to be such a good driver of the golf ball to keep the trouble out of play off the tee and then kind of turn the golf course into a different type of math equation.
It was really highlighted kind of the difference in style on number 2. Granted, Cam Young was from the chaser position and he kind of had to push the envelope there, but he ripped a driver. It was phenomenal camera angle by NBC, split the bunkers up there. And meanwhile, Brian Harman hit a 3-wood laid back like 25 yards short of the bunker. And I think to Kyle's point, it was really a sprint those first 2 rounds. And then once you're out in front, it's a great golf course to be a leader on. It, like we saw it with Rory McIlroy, we just saw it with Brian Harman, where if he just does what he does, like you said, Rick, a very accurate driver, doesn't have to really force the issue at all. Like Greg said, he's a good enough putter where he'll get enough bonus putts to drop. He knew that coming in. He putted the absolute crap out of the golf ball the first 2 days. He continued to do that over the weekend, where you kind of just have to let everyone else trip over themselves who are chasing you. And like I said, he probably would have taken 10 under. That's where he stood after 36 holes. He would have taken that after 72 holes and been very happy about it. He just happened to be 3 strokes better than that. 6
shots was the margin of victory for Brian Harman. Greg, I mean, how will we look back at this major championship? I was on HQ, and this is different from Danny Willett being the benefactor of Jordan Spieth's collapse at the Masters.
Right? we got to bring that up.
Sorry. But you know what I mean? Like when you get this 100 to 1 or 200 to 1 winner at a major championship and you think about how that's going to be looked at, 5 or 10 years from now. Brian Harman lapped the field. He tied records that only Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy had. He wins at Royal Liverpool, which, Rory, Tiger, Peter Thompson, Bobby Jones, Walter Hagen, et cetera, et cetera. This was a historically large victory.
Yes. And again, 6 shots is funny, as you mentioned that, because Patrick mentioned the bonus putts. I think he made 6 putts outside of 25 feet, which right there's your 6-shot win. So that I found that to be interesting. But how is this viewed? I think some of it, you look at the past majors, what we've had in recent times, and there's been a lot of stars that have won majors. And if they're not stars, like Wyndham Clark, there's an expectation that comes from it. Maybe Gary Woodland is the last guy that's not a star, or expectations weren't really affected a whole lot from it. But beyond that, I mean, we've had big time guys win these major championships. So it's really hard to kind of assess how this one is rated, because in a way, I mean, it's probably going to get him onto the Ryder Cup team in all likelihood. And I'm not sure what it does for him beyond that, other than a whole lot of confidence. A wonderful player on the PGA Tour, but the way that he is in interviews, the way that he is off the golf course, he's very cool, calm, and collected, right? There's not a whole lot of star power with Brian Harman. And I think that affects the way that it's remembered. So it's remembered as a phenomenal week from Brian Harman that made him a major champion. And I'm not sure that it's going to get rated as one of the best performances of all time in a major. Just because it's not going to stack up to performances of Tiger Woods and Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy.
Didn't he beat Rory from 2014?
Rory's 2014 Open Championship victory, his margin of victory, is that what you're looking for?
Give me total strokes.
Oh, total strokes was 271.
What was Harman?
271.
I agree with Greg, though. I think you kind of got to lump it into a Gary Woodland type or a Jimmy Walker type major, even though it was a historical performance and a tremendous achievement. At the end of the day, when you look back at major championships, you're not going to scroll through Wikipedia and be like, oh my goodness, remember the 2023 Open with Brian Harman? No, probably not. You'll instead be like, oh my goodness, the 2022 Masters with Scotty Scheffler was amazing, or something else, because who wins majors heavily affects how people remember it.
Yeah. I just don't know that should, and I don't know that you guys are saying this, but I think in terms of a historic, it's kind of Martin Keimer-ish, right? From the 2014 US Open.
Great comparison.
At Pinehurst, where I know Keimer's won 2 major championships, which makes not a lot of sense, but it's almost like this outlier major championship historic major championship performance. And I actually think it speaks more to how difficult it is for stars to win majors, right? You look at Rahm, you look at Fleetwood, I don't know if Fleetwood and Rahm are not in the same category, but you look at Rahm, you look at Rory, you look at some of the guys that were up there, and you're like, man, what do I have to do? Golf is so different in that you can't play defense. You have no control over what Brian Harman is doing. It's different than tennis. It's different than baseball, football, like all these, even most individual sports. I saw somebody the other day compare it to swimming. Was that you, Patrick?
No, I compared it to the Tour de France.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's
it
just
felt like that, by the way, all week.
It's just such a weird, it's crazy that somebody like Harman, who's a fine player, but not a great one, can just do this, and Jon Rahm can do nothing about it. Right. And like, he can't defend it. He can't, whatever. It's just, Rory's number, I tweeted it. It's like, he's beaten, so 7 of the last 8 majors, take the 2023 Masters out of it. He's beaten or tied 992 out of 1,019 competitors. So 97.4%. 0 major wins. Brian Harman comes in. He has 1 top 25 in a major this year, and it's a claret jug. That's insane. Like, what do you do with that? I think that part of it is what I think about often, is that, and we've talked about this, Rick, is that consistency is almost not, inconsistency is disproportionately rewarded in golf, probably more than anywhere else, which is just, it's crazy. It's so difficult to reconcile all that.
You want to guess who gained the most strokes in major championships this year? I've done the tally.
It's probably Scheffler, Brooks, or Hovland.
Scheffler, 44, 0 majors. Viktor, 42, 0 majors. Rahm, 41, major. Koepka,
Where's my boy Patrick Cantlay?
Cantlay is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. So it is Scotty, Viktor, Rahm, Brooks. So there's 2 major winners there. Rory, Xander, Cantlay, Tommy, Cam Smith, Tom Kim, Hideki. You go on. We don't get to Wyndham Clark for a while. Colin, Patrick Reed, Cam Young, Jordan Spieth, Sepp Straka, Terrell Hatton. Then we get to Wyndham.
Damn.
Then we go Shane Lowry, Minwoo, Ricky, Sahith, who missed a cut this week, Russell Henley. Then you get to Brian Harman.
Damn. Our boy Rory with Tommy and the rest of that lot, Cantlay and Xander, tough scene. But Kyle, I'm going to bite back on your Martin Keimer take.
Okay.
I completely disagree. He had just won the Players Championship, and he was he had been world number 1 before. So
I guess, yes, I'm with you. Martin Keimer's much better historical player than Brian Harman. I think I'm more talking about the way that we will remember the victory more than I am the player himself.
Okay, that's fair.
I would add,
it's just personality driven, kind of.
I think this performance kind of reminded me of Brian. I was thinking, watching Brian Harman, of Martin Keimer throughout this week after Friday's round. Martin Keimer shot 265s to start, separated himself, and then every time there was it looked like he was going to flinch, he made a 10-footer or got up and down from the short side with a putter from off the green, and just kind of in a similar way, we were rooting for a mistake because you want to have some drama, like you said, Kyle, and the short game and the putting around that 10-foot mark really kept Keimer and his lead untouchable. And it did the same for Brian Harman this week. So I think it's interesting to compare the two.
Harman's a killer. Like he doesn't have the skill set that some of these top guys have, but put him on the Ryder Cup team. I'm in. Like he's a menace, and that's to his credit. Like it was easy for people to root against him or to pull for drama or wanted it to be more competitive or whatever. But I think we should appreciate, like, that dude went out and like did it, over the last 36, and we've seen a lot of guys not do that. And I think people are maybe what's getting lost in some of this is people are just not appreciating that he is he's kind of nasty. And I loved that about him over the last two rounds.
Largest margins of victory in men's major championships: 15, Tiger, 2000, U.S. Open. Old Tom Morris, 13, the 1862 Open Championship. Tiger did it at the 97 Masters. That was 12 strokes. Young Tom Morris, 12, 1870 British Open. Willie Smith, 11 at the 18. Willie Smith's got a great story. 1899 Open, U.S. Open champion. He moved to Mexico City to become the golf pro. He would not leave his post at during the Mexican Revolution. He was injured at the whole thing's it's insane. You should go read his Wikipedia page. It's awesome. But what? I
did not envision talking about Willie Smith and the Mexican Revolution when I woke up today.
Listen, bud, I've had a lot of time. This was a 36-hole coronation. I've had a lot of time to dive into all of this stuff. So Brian Harman adding his name to some of the largest major championship victories of all time. I think what we'll do here, we'll give Brian Harman this A block. We'll reset and get to some of the chase pack and everything else that happened. So first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Wake up to football highlights and news from around the world with the one and only Morning Footy team.
Rise and shine, football fans. Welcome to Morning Footy.
Start your all-day football craze with Morning Footy, part of the all-new Golazo Network.
And we're back. The board behind Brian Harman was tight, Greg. 4 golfers at 7 under. Tom Kim, Sepp Straka, Jason Day, Jon Rahm. 2 more at 6 under. Emiliano Grillo, Rory McIlroy. 2 more at 5 under. Sharma, Young. I mean, this removed Brian Harman from the equation. This thing was very tight for who was going to finish second.
Yeah, I mean, you end up with if you remove Brian Harman, you end up with a 4-way playoff.
Well,
I know that things would obviously change if you remove Brian Harman, but ultimately some really good stuff behind him. But it also in the peloton, let's call it, Patrick. The peloton had a hard time moving today and yesterday, and it was really hard to get for the right guy, the guy that's the closest, like Cam Young today. It was hard for them to be the guys to make the move. I forget who was in second. I guess Fleetwood. If Fleetwood plays the Jon Rahm round, this gets really tight. But those guys, those closest competitors to Brian Harman, couldn't quite move to make it a real threat. And that was in large part, I think, the difficulty of the golf course, especially that middle stretch. Rory really struggled in that, 7 to 13 area. And a lot of guys had a hard time in that area of the golf course piling up birdies. So the test of this major championship, I think, really kept the chase pack back.
Oh, sorry, Patrick. I thought you were jumping in there. That's on me. Let's go. Let's start with Tom Kim here, Patrick, because we know he gets hurt. I don't know why I'm laughing. He injures himself on Monday. He showed up to the Sunday final round of the Open Championship on crutches. Okay?
Did he?
Did he really?
Yes.
Oh my God. What a drama queen.
He shot a 67, 4 under, gets his best major championship finish, T2. They say golfers aren't athletes.
He was on freaking crutches.
I think they're still saying that.
What has he got?
Yeah.
Or is he suing somebody?
He slipped off.
Did he ever say what happened? He just slipped.
Yeah, hold on. I'll find like the real. But he wet grass at his rental house. He slipped on the slipped off the patio, stepped off the patio, slipped on a wet patch of grass. He said it was a very unfortunate thing. It's pretty bruised. I can't take my shoe off really. It's a torn ligament, and that article is from earlier in the week. But I'll find one. They showed up. Yeah, today he arrived on crutches.
Are people comparing it to the 2008 U.S. Open yet?
They should.
These damn Gen Zers, they just want attention. They want to be in the headlines. I'm not really buying the injury when you shoot. What did he shoot over the weekend? Like 6 under or something?
Yeah,
Post ankle injury. It doesn't pass the sniff test. But look, Tom Kim, very quietly, a very, very good links golf player. And what you guys were saying about Brian Harman, just peppering fairways and making putts, that's really been Tom Kim's MO early in his career. So a really strong start. I thought he had a few more opportunities. He didn't take advantage of 17. I think he had a look, and then 18, he didn't make a birdie as well. So at that point, the tournament was over, but you'll look back on this and be like, oh my God, Tom Kim finished runner up at this Open Championship. And it's really good. I think people forget, we always talk about young guns on this show, that he's still only 21 years of age when we have people like Ludwig and people coming out of college who are 23, 24. So it's really impressive. I think it was the best finish by a 21-year-old since Spieth. So
you think he faked the injury?
I'm not gonna say fake, but maybe he.
To what benefit?
To get the headline in the article you just read.
Trust me, that article was read by me and me alone based on that.
Rick also wrote it.
4 people Googling Tom Kim.
I've been kind of bearish on Tom Kim, like not buying, selling after the President's Cup and selling to Patrick. Have you been buying?
Oh no, I've been selling to. It's a fire sale over here.
Yeah, it might be the bubble has burst perhaps, but I think the thing about Tom Kim is that this is the type of, if he's going to win a major, I think this is the type of major for him to win, right? Because it's not as if length didn't matter, but you could play the course well without it. You know, is Tom Kim going to win a PGA championship at Bethpage? Absolutely not. Like that will never happen. But he could win an Open Championship at Royal Troon, or like it just. I think this is the type of major that sets up really well for him to succeed at.
The other, or one of the others, in second place was Jon Rahm. Greg. Rahm did the vast majority of his work on Saturday. That 63 that had never been shot around Royal Liverpool in Open Championships was followed up by a Sunday 70. I think he was kind of the, I don't want to say the hope, but the guy that people were hoping they were going to wake up this morning and see was already 3 or 4 under par and giving Brian Harman a run for his money here. It'll be another runner-up finish for Rombo, another great finish, but I don't think he cares.
No, and actually, you heard him on 15 after hitting kind of a disappointing wedge shot. He said, "You got nothing to lose. That is just terrible."
Yeah, he does not care about
he does not care about finishing second, and he shouldn't. So what happened today? Well, Jon Rahm gave on those first 4 holes, he gave himself a lot of birdie putts and almost made it, pretty much all of them. The problem is they were from 40 feet. He kept hitting it to 35 feet all day. He hits 14 greens today. He's in position, but he could not get the ball close to the hole. There was one, maybe on 13, maybe on 17. He hit very few shots in a make zone. Very few. And on 5, he gave himself a look, which was close. But you just put so much on the putter. And in fact, it's the same thing that he did yesterday. Maybe he hit it a little closer yesterday, but he made a lot of long putts yesterday. And it's hard to replicate that. And that's what we talked about last night, Rick, in the likelihood or lack of likelihood that Jon Rahm follows up a 63 with another one, which is kind of what he needed to do in order to win this. So that was a challenge, but he played some really good golf, especially considering taking so much time off. He took off from the Travelers all the way to here. I'm not sure I like that play. I understand it with the upcoming schedule, and his schedule goes even beyond the Tour Championship, as he'll start to play some DP World Tour events after that. But I just wonder if he had played the Scottish the week before, does round 1 look a little bit different for him? Hard for me to go past that in my mind.
Let me just read you off Jon Rahm's major championship finishes from most recent. Runner-up, T10, T50 win. That's this year. 34th, 12th, 48th, 27th. That's 2022. Here's 2021. 3rd, 1st, 8th, 5th, 7th, 23rd, 13th, 11th, 3rd. It's pretty good, Kyle.
Yeah, it's the Rory formula of just knocking on the door, being right there over and over again. This week felt like Justin Rose in 2018 at Carnoustie when he made the cut on the number and then finished T2 behind Molinari, which was wild. And it's just such a difficult spot to put yourself in, because he needed, instead of being Justin Rose in 2018, he needed to be Phil Mickelson in 2016, right? Where you're keeping pace every single day with the guy that's completely lapping the field. So, the first 2 days, it was always going to be difficult to back up that 63 with even anything in the mid 60s, much less another 63, which is around what he would have needed to win the golf tournament. So that was just, it was too, he put himself in too big of a hole over the first 2 days.
Speaking of Rory McIlroy, Patrick, he gave us the mini sweat, 3 under through his first 5 holes. He played the rest of them, though, at even par, a 3 under 68. So we go 69, 68 on the weekend. It's a T6. It'll be a yellow box on Wikipedia. It will not be a trophy. And we go into year number 10 between majors.
First, I just want to say what an honor
I've been waiting for this.
Was to serve with you guys this week. I was tweeting up a storm for our guy. I mean, look at that rain suit. How could you not be rooting for him?
I hate that rain suit, by the way.
I kind of like it. You get a lot of blues and navies, blacks.
For a reason. It is tan, and when it gets wet, it's like dark tan. I hate that he has this rain suit.
It looks like a suit that my dad wore in like the 90s or something.
I hate it.
They're coming back. They're coming back. But
it's not ideal.
But as I was saying to you guys before, I just count myself as one of the luckiest people in the world to experience the full Rory roller coaster this week, the early runs, especially today, and then kind of just coming up short there, but another quality top 10 finish. It felt like an internship. I got a ton of experience under my belt, but I think this is where my watch ends. You guys on the wall, you guys are fighting the good fight, but I got to go elsewhere. I got to go to King's Landing, check up on Daenerys Targaryen and whatnot. But for me and Rory McIlroy, what this championship came down to, it was not today. It was the final 13 holes of his third round. to play those in 1 over when the golf course was playing half a stroke under par for the entire day. You can't be doing that. And yes, the putter was a big culprit there, but the driver as well. He handcuffed himself on the 2 back 9 par 5s, wasn't able to give it a go in 2 on either of those. He did make a birdie late, or no, he didn't. He wasn't able to make birdie on either of those. And when you're giving up those shots when it was legitimately moving day, yes, he was 9 back coming into today, but if he was 5 with that start, it's more believable. But like Greg said, that middle stretch of the golf course can play pretty hard. But there's really just nothing more to say. We've done this dance before. We've seen this movie. We're on to the next one.
Can I go, Rick?
Please, you don't have to ask.
So I think that you could talk yourself pretty easily into like he could have won 3 of the last 5, right? I mean, that would take a Brian Harman not playing in this tournament. But for as much as we've talked about, hey, Rory's got a lot of backdoor top 10, backdoor top 10, backdoor top 10. The last 13 months have been like front or side door, top 6s, top 5s. It seems like he's putting himself in in a better position to actually win the tournament. Whereas like before I think you look at 2016 to 2022, really, other than the 18 Masters when he was in the final pairing with Reed, I guess 18 Open too. He finished, I think, second there to Francesco Molinari, tied with Justin Rose. There wasn't a ton of like real contention. It looks yellow on the Wikipedia page, but it wasn't like this. So you could take that a couple different ways. You could say, well, he's close. And if you're that close that many times, you're going to win a couple, right? That I think that's really what you're trying to do as a great player, is just be in it, and then win 2 or 3 of them over the course of 8 years, 10 years, right? 2 or 3 is a lot when you already have 4. Or you could look at it and say like, he's missing opportunities. He's missing his best opportunities, because that's what these last 5 have been among his best opportunities over the course of his entire career. So I don't know how you guys look at that. I don't even know how I look at it. I think it takes a little bit of time to kind of, you want to put some distance between yourself and the golf tournament to kind of evaluate that. But it's got to be frustrating. It's got to be frustrating to have 7 top 8 finishes over the last 2 years and nothing to show for it.
Yeah, it's 20 top 10s in the last 9 years and 0 wins. You know, that's a healthy amount of top 10s, right? It's a lot of contention or near contention, but there just always seems to be some kind of hiccup. You know, something that holds him back. And when he was winning majors, there wasn't, right? He was able to extend leads and get on hot starts and get a lot of momentum going. And it felt like when you watch, you knew he was going to win. And now you watch and it feels like, you know, he's not going to win. And it's kind of disappointing. Like, you know, what we saw at the Scottish Open last week was a huge we saw a missed putt at 16 that made you think, okay, here we go again. And then he answers the bell on 17 and 18, which was unexpected. But we're not getting those kind of moments in majors at any point over the course of 4 days where there's the big Rory McIlroy moment, the major winning moment. And that's the thing that's really missing for him. Look, this week was a hard-fought week. I didn't think he had his best stuff. The iron play in the first 4 or 5 holes throughout the week was really good. It got everybody really excited, and then it teetered off. You know, he played 7 through 13, 5 over with no birdies in there throughout the entire week. And a lot of that comes from errant iron shots, left and right. And so I thought this week Rory was fighting his game a little bit more than some of those previous opportunities he had. But when we get into next year, which feels like it's forever away, He's going to have to do something when he gets himself under pressure. He's going to have that signature moment. And that's the thing that's been missing over these last 9 years.
Here is a quote. Kyle, you tweeted this out. Rory on his performance this week. Quote, over the last 2 years, would I have loved to have picked one of those off that I finished up there? Absolutely. But every time I tee it up, or most times I tee it up, I'm right there. I can't sit here and be too frustrated. My game is, you think about my performances in the majors between like 2016 and 2019, it's a lot better than that. He ends with, I'm optimistic about the future and just got to keep plugging away.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of what I was saying earlier of it's not it's very difficult to do what Brian Harman did. You basically have to make everything you look at for 4 straight days, right? Even, and if Rory makes everything he looks at for 4 straight days, he's going to win by like 10. So he has more opportunities to make putts than most guys. But it's so, I think everybody wants Rory to go out and it's like, hey, just go win by 6. You're like, well, that's really hard. Like, that's very difficult. The formula is to put yourself in the top 5, major after major after major, and you'll get hot on one of them. Somebody will fall apart in another one, and you'll end up with 6 or 7 at the end of your career. I think that's the formula for a great player. I don't know. Do you guys disagree? Does anybody disagree with that? Because I'm just sort of pontificating. I don't know like what the answer is here for him.
I think I generally fall on the side of like, there's so much more luck in this than we think there is, or that people want to admit there is. So yes, I believe the formula is by the 65th hole, be around it. And it's going to take a lot either way for you to get one or for anybody else to get one, and hope that you are the recipient of said win luck.
I do think there's a lot of luck involved as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Harman's the perfect example of that.
There's an interesting quote from Padraig Harrington. He was asked about Rory, and he said, he's easily good enough. We all know that. He could win at any stage. But as I said, it's a little more complicated than just being good enough. There's other guys who are good enough. There's plenty of guys out there. The standard is very deep. Plenty of guys who are competing and playing. Rory has to bring his A game. That's just it. I see he's pretty much down where I am in putting this week, and I can tell you that's pretty miserable. He's not going to win tournaments putting like that this week. And, it's interesting, Greg, you said he had his B game, or did you say B game?
Not his best stuff. I didn't use that word. Yeah, not his best stuff. And
he still finished, I think, Rick, second from tee to green. He finished top 10 off the tee and top 10 in approach play. And
second tee to green I have.
For me, the last 2 majors, LACC and this one, that's as good as to me. That's as good as I've seen him hit it at a major. LACC was a joke, like how well he hit it. But you have to. I don't know. The putting thing is interesting because it's like, okay, is that physical? Is it mental? Like, he's hitting it well enough to win a major, I guess is what I'm saying. And then it's everything else. Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it emotional? Is it what's going on there? I don't know. I don't know if he knows. And I think that's part of the fun of all of this is both him and everyone else trying to figure out what it will take to get him to that point, even though Patrick's ejecting and going to a different company.
I put in my 2 weeks notice. It was an internship, Greg. It was a fun summer. You guys treated me to some nice happy hours, some rooftop parties. But I got to go back to school. I got to figure out what I want to do with my life. But I think to Kyle's point about how to pick off the next major, I do agree that that's the formula, to just be very good at golf and inside the top 5 each time.
Brave. But
it's almost the Scotty Scheffler conversation of this season. How do you pick yourself up time and time and time again? And who's to say this is Rory's been all time for the past decade. Look at him statistically. He wins at a phenomenal clip. yada, yada, yada. But who's to say it doesn't drop off in a year or two or something like that? You just never know with these windows. You look at Justin Thomas this year, it's been abysmal. So it's hard to sit here and be like, that's the formula for the next 3 to 4 years, when he probably should have gotten at least one more over the last 2 years. And yeah, there's been outlier performances: Brian Harman, Wyndham Clark, Cameron Smith. And that just has to do with the luck. But I don't know. Sometimes you got to go out there and win it like Brian Harman did.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. Like, sometimes you just have to go out and win it. And I guess that's a little bit of what I'm getting at with the way for him to go out and win it. And that's what Patrick Harrington was saying. It's like, you got to putt. You got to make putts, right? And he's a good putter. I think everybody thinks that like him, DJ, these guys that are great hitters are bad putters. They're actually, like, DJ is a really, really good putter. So is Rory's not quite as good, I don't think, as DJ, but he's a above average putter. And like, it just seemingly hasn't clicked when you think about St. Andrews, LACC. He didn't hit it great at St. Andrews on Sunday, but he hit it wonderfully at LACC. I thought he hit it good this week. Just nothing dropped, and I don't know. So maybe it's as simple as, like, you got to make putts. Is that it, Rick?
No, but I mean, you have to make some putts. You don't have to make all the putts. I mean,
you got to handle the moment, right? There's the opportunity that arises at some point on the back nine on Sunday, when the tournament actually starts.
You have to make the right putts.
Yeah, you got to make the right putts. And he hasn't done that.
Or hit the right wedge shot at the US Open.
Right.
Yeah.
Or go for the green in two instead of lay up.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There are a lot of these tournaments where you play well and you get beat and you never really get it going. But there are the ones like St. Andrews last year, the US Open this year, maybe even
got to go
Southern
get it.
Hills. Yeah, you got to. There's a moment where you got to step up and take it.
Yeah.
And that's the major moment I talk about, right?
I think it's a fair critique, and it's I think that it's a critique that you want as a star, right? Because it means that you're putting yourself in position to actually go and do that
constantly.
It's just hard because sometimes you have Cam Smith shoot 30 on the back on Sunday, and sometimes you have Brian Harman make 59 of 60 putts inside of 10 feet. I mean, there's just so many things. But you're right. Like, I think a fair critique of great players is if you have a moment, if you're in it, you got to go do it. And I think that's a fair critique of Rory, and one that he would probably make of himself as well.
All right. And I think of
last word.
We're talking about Southern Hills. I think of Justin Thomas down the stretch there when he smelled blood in the water, like him barking at his golf ball on that approach in the
awesome.
second hole.
Yeah.
Like, I know we saw Rory just do that at the Scottish Open kind of, but it is kind of hard to envision Rory McIlroy doing something like that on the back nine on Sunday in a major championship.
Well, in 260 whatever days, we're going to get Rory's 10th crack at winning the career Grand Slam, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about Rory McIlroy. And then a couple of quick hitters. Greg, you get your choice of Cam Young, Tommy Fleetwood, or Viktor Hovland. Who would you like?
I would like Cam Young.
Cam Young out of the final pairing on Sunday shot a 2 over 73, which is certainly disappointing for him. It's going to be a T8, another great finish at the Open Championship. He went runner-up last year, T8 this year in his only 2 trips. We saw a lot of good from Cam Young this week, but he's probably a little disappointed in his Sunday.
Definitely disappointed in Sunday. I know one was playing really difficult, but tough dropping another shot there to extend Brian Harman's lead. But 5 was really the turning point for me, where Brian Harman has to take an unplayable, hit it in the gorse bushes, and Cam Young has iron into the green and ends up tying the hole. That is really deflating. And then on the next, he makes birdie, but he is answering Brian Harman. So he couldn't gain any ground And then I think you saw some frustration the rest of the way for Cam Young. But this ball striking performance was really impressive through the week. And ultimately, it's almost like a season saver this week. Ended up with a tied 8th finish here. It kind of re-enters Cam Young into the conversation as one of the top players in the game. And it probably puts him on the Ryder Cup team. I think he answered a lot of questions this week about his game. Some people were wondering, like, is he just lost? And I don't think that's the case at all.
Patrick, Viktor Hovland, or Tommy Fleetwood?
Can I get Zach Johnson?
You may not.
I will go with Tommy Ladd.
Tommy Ladd, after getting everybody all hot and bothered with a 66 on Thursday, he goes 71, 71, 72. That included a pretty nasty triple on 17 in which he had to just gently nudge his ball a little bit further into that sandy area, which was an amazing little moment. But it's going to be a T10 for Tommy at a major, and I guess all is right in the world.
He kind of I'm a huge Tommy Fleetwood fan. I want to put that out there before I kind of go poo-poo on him a little bit. It kind of just seems like he walks around and his shoes are always wet. Like there wasn't a lot of energy out there for him over the weekend, despite what the fans wanted. And look, first 18 holes, he had 6 birdies. The final 54 holes, 6 birdies. And we talked about the ebbs and flows of Brian Harman's weekend rounds and how similar they were. He got himself into that final round on Saturday. And after an early birdie, he cut it to 2. And he missed a very short birdie putt on the 5th to keep pace with Harman, to keep it within 2. And after that, he just made absolutely nothing on the greens. And before that final birdie on the 72nd hole, his birdies this weekend were 5, 5, and 18. 3 par 5s. That was it. And you just can't do that on this golf course, given the Saturday conditions. And after Saturday, he was kind of out of it, but disappointing. I talked about Rory McIlroy on the back nine on Sunday in a major championship. It's even worse for Tommy Fleetwood's case. I would have walked off into the D after the 17th. I would have just walked.
Talking about, lack of energy from like Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas barking at his ball. The fans were begging Tommy Fleetwood to do anything to get them like energized. And it was nothing. It was not even right. If he goes 6 birdies, 6 bogeys, at least they're like fired him up. It was no juice.
He parred the Liverpool loyalist into submission, just beating them down with pars. And then one final knockout blow with that triple bogey. But it's really hard. It would have been such a cool story. And after the first 18, it felt realistic. But there's something there. It has to be mental. He's too good of a ball striker. It's similar to Rory, not on as great as a sample size on big of a stage, but it's something there on the back nine come crunch time for Fleetwood.
Viktor Hovland, KP, got off to a horrid start, goes out in 40, does a little bit of rebounding on the second 9, birdies on 11, 15, 18. That's 3 under on the back, 2 over for his championship Sunday. He's going to finish T13, which tell you what, he's had a good major championship season, despite not the front 9 today not going the way he wanted.
Yeah, I tweeted this on Saturday. I think Hovland has changed my mind about him more than anybody else this major season. I mean, if you just look at his, do you have his finishes at the majors in front of you, or you can get them here in a second?
Got him.
He just has figured out. He's figured out major championship golf, and I don't know if I think. I mean, I already thought that about somebody like Brooks, right, who won this year. I already thought that about somebody like Rahm. Maybe Wyndham Clark is up there about like guys that I think differently about. Brian Harman is not, because this is like just so obviously a one-off for his career, like probably seemingly not going to happen again. But Hovland is like the guy that this major season, it's like, okay, this is very different than what I thought you were. And I already thought he was good, but it's like he's unlocked not just the physical side, but the mental side of major championships. I think he gets one. I would be very surprised if Viktor Hovland did not win a major in the next, let's say, 4 years.
42 strokes gained, second to just Scotty Scheffler in major championships this year. He has the T13 from today, 19th at the U.S. Open, runner-up at the PGA, 7th at the Masters, then going back to last year, a T4. So that is 5 straight top 19s, with 3 of them being top 7s. So yeah, starting to figure it out indeed. Gents, we will take another break here. We will recap our best bets. Oh boy. We will update the one and done, and we will put a bow on the 151st Open Championship. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Get breaking news.
Big news coming out of the NFL today.
Highlights and instant reaction.
The largest final round comeback in tour championship history. We're down to the final 4.
I just want to take time to analyze greatness.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner. CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports all day long.
And we're back. Our bets were very, very stinky. No wins to be found anywhere. A couple of pushes are the only things we can tout, along with a couple of close calls like a Cam Young, a Tommy Fleetwood, a bunch of Viktor Hovland and Rory McIlroy outrights. None of those cash. A Wyndham Clark best bet that missed by a stroke. Just not much going for us here, Greg.
No, not a lot at all. I mean, the Minwoo Lee top 20 thing's really disappointing. That looked like a lock for a while. The outrights, I mean, you kind of know those are going to be red at this point. But other than that, I mean, you'd love to hit a matchup or a top 20. You know,
that Cam Young was sitting out there.
Killer.
The Viktor, Cam Young, Tommy Fleetwood, Rory McIlroy were the outrights that were in it, like, for a lot of this thing.
We had it surrounded.
And then Dustin Johnson was in it for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
For the first couple holes.
He's barely in the tournament.
Oh boy. One and done. So this was a pretty sizable purse. I think it was $16.5 million, $3 million for Brian Harman. Nobody had him. Shocker. There were a couple of Cam Smith selections that at the top and the bottom, Mark and Kyle. KP, he got you 84,112.
Well, that's more than he would have gotten me the rest of the year. So
that is true.
Yeah, in retrospect, I think LACC was a much better venue than this one for him, just in terms of the way he drives it. He was kind of crooked throughout the week off the tee. I think the surprise for him, not to make this too big picture, this year is thriving at the PGA at Oak Hill. That one to me is the kind of the outlier on his major resume this year. So not super disappointing, but I thought he could play well this week. I thought he could finish in the top 15 or so.
3 selections of Dustin Johnson, the fans, Sia, and Patrick. Let me recheck. Yeah, $0 from Dustin Johnson. He missed the cut. Josh doesn't even give you like the 10K that you get when you miss the cut at a major. You don't even get that.
I was really banking on that because me and Kyle are in a full-on battle for bottom of the cellar. But look, I've said everything I've had to say to my team. We're gonna try something different. We're gonna trot out some young guys to end the season, get some reps under their belt. So we're already on to 2024. We're done. We're toast. There's nothing else we can do. The good news is I still have Open champion winner Brian Harman at my disposal. So that's really the last calling card I might have. But outside that, I'm giving up.
Wow.
He always gets me with those little, little things.
Daggers.
That's so funny. Greg, you had Viktor Hovland, $232,000. But how do you feel about that?
Could have been so much better, but I always go back to the pick, and Brian Harman was the guy I had circled all year for this, and I panicked.
No, you didn't.
You and Mark both probably.
Yeah. Oh man. No, this was I think it was the right pick. I wanted to get a live guy in there, but I didn't really like DJ, and I'm very glad about that. So that being said, I still think it was the right pick. I just wish it was a better Sunday for Viktor, because it could have made for a really nice week, especially that I was lone wolf on him, which was surprising to me. I did not expect to be lone wolf on Hovland.
I was lone wolf on Jordan Spieth, 121,000, but the winner of the week, Kyle M, Tommy Fleetwood, Tommy lad, 377,000. But that triple on 17 was pretty expensive for Kyle M, who is closing the gap on Mark, just 1.1 million behind. If anybody not named Rick is going to win this, I really hope it's Kyle M.
I just hope it's not Mark.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't want it to be Mark. I would rather finish last and Mark not win than and Mark.
Hey, listener Joe M had a question in the chat about whether we think Tom or Tommy is more likely to win a major over the course of their careers.
I mean,
young Tom Kim, as Solly called him, or I guess he said less likely, not more likely.
Tom, apologies, already has like 2 wins. Tommy's got, I don't know, man. I think Tom, well, first off, Tom Kim's going to get like 100 cracks at
it. Yeah. I mean, Joe M.
Tom Kim's going to be like a billionaire.
At what point Tom Kim is already, I know I just gave him crap for being a Gen Z attention hog, but he's already more mature than Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, this guy's name is Tommy. At what point does he drop the...
I agree with
Tom Fleetwood?
Yeah, at what point does he...
Young Tom Fleetwood?
Tom Ladd?
Cuts his hair, wins a major championship.
Old Tom Fleetwood and young Tom Kim?
Exactly.
I think absolutely Tom Kim.
I think it's Fleetwood. I'm not giving up on Fleetwood. I'm in on Fleetwood too. Tom Kim, okay, so if he goes to the Matt Fitzpatrick School of Speed Training, yes, you can sign me up for that. But
which is very likely considering he's 21. He is like not even a grown man yet.
He's a grown boy.
That's the path. Like that's how you would talk me into picking Tom Kim here.
Do you think this ankle injury will stunt his growth?
Very good point, Greg. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. Rick said crutches.
I don't know.
Brian Harman, multi-year deal.
It doesn't matter how big he is. Brian Harman just outlined the path to short kings winning majors.
It's possible.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is if you believe that if you're not buying on Tom Kim in terms of like his length and his inability to contend because of it at majors, then he only gets one chance a year, which is the Open, and not even every year. I think Fleetwood, I think there's, of course he is younger, so he'll get to play in like 30 Opens. So I don't know. It's a good question. It's interesting.
Mark has a comment that says this is a nice compliment for you, Patrick. Says he loves the dry humor. And who is Kyle M? It's a mysterious man. Yeah, the M for Kyle M stands for mysterious. That's who he is. He's in second of our one and done, and we are hoping that he dethrones Mark. That's basically
okay. I got a question. Who ends their career with more majors between Rory and Rahm?
Probably wrong. Wait, sorry. No, Rahm's at 2. Rory's at 4.
Yeah.
Rahm's
I gotta go Rory.
Younger.
I gotta go Rory. It's so hard. It's going to be so hard to win 2 more for anybody.
Do you think
Imagine
Rory wins?
Anyone winning 2 more?
I don't know how anybody ever wins one at all.
I don't either. It's every week. I'm like, how is this possible?
Who do you think wins one next? I think it's first in wins type of deal. Whoever wins next.
The next one?
Yeah. So who do you have more faith in next?
2 is a huge lead. That's the only thing for me.
It's a lot. It's DJ's career.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Jon Rahm's career up to this point. You know, you're not just going to duplicate that. He could go on a run and win 10. I mean, I wouldn't he's got that kind of game, but that's not going to happen.
Two is so hard. Next sentence. He could go on a run and get the 10.
Which guy are you even talking about?
Well, both, I guess.
Tom Kim.
They're not. It's just so unlikely. You know, Rahm could win every single time he tees it up. That's the point I'm trying to make. Rory can win every time he tees it up, but you got Brian Harman's jumping in there. You know, Wyndham Clark's jumping in there, trying to steal these majors from these guys. So, I mean, I take the lead in a instance like this and go.
Yeah, Rory. I think you're right. I think what's interesting about the Rory thing and Rahm is like you look at what Rory has done over the last 2 years of not winning. It could flip the other way, right? And if he finishes in the top 10 the next, like in every major for the next 2 years, he could win like 3 of them. You know, like that wouldn't be. I mean, it would be surprising. It wouldn't be like shocking if you're in the top 8 that often.
The first one will have a surprise factor. And after that, I think everybody will expect the floodgates to open.
What is more likely? Rory winning 2 more majors or golf adding a 5th major? I don't think we're that far away from a 5th major, honestly.
I saw someone with a big voice pitch that earlier in the week.
Who?
Yes, I saw this too.
I pitched this at the match play like 3 years ago. Who pitched it?
Are you gonna send him a cease and desist?
No.
He's gotten a few of those.
Yeah, he's been on the bad end of a couple suits. You could say he wears one when he's talking on TV as well.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, no, I don't know what his pitch was, but actually, he might have me blocked. No, I don't know if he has me blocked or not.
Michael Block.
Michael Block. Oh, Michael Block is still making his rounds. Have you seen what he's been up to?
Yeah, he's taken full advantage of the 15 minutes.
It's a long.
He's on the clock.
But realistically, the PGA Tour has to find themselves in a major, has to have a major championship. They would be very stupid not to. And you could do match play. You could make the Players Championship a major, or you could add a major.
But you can't just say we have a major.
Why not? There's no one controlling what is a major and what is not. You can absolutely say
we control it.
Yes. Right.
Well, I think what is interesting is like in this reshuffle of organizations. I mean, I think this is what you're saying, right? Like the reshuffle of golf organizations. It's like the tour, like whatever the NUCO is, has an opportunity to just start making stuff up, basically.
Right. And why wouldn't you? If you're the PGA Tour, you are on the outside looking in for the 4 biggest events, and you want in that world so bad. And it's not like there's a major committee that takes applications for what is a major championship. Everyone just like calls it a major, and it's a major now.
I don't know. I mean, look, you have the 5th best, the 5th biggest event tournament, stroke play tournament.
There's a big gap.
Right. Yeah. Is there though? I mean,
does Wikipedia count it?
Well, the Players has its own section. You know,
so does other wins. Like, I'm not sold on that.
What other league would have?
You're going to be in 5th, and you're going to make everybody all upset because you're changing history.
Okay, Kyle, say what you were going to say, because I think I have an answer. I don't even know what the question is. I think I have.
What other league would make their playoffs the 6th most important thing of the year?
Yeah, that's crazy too.
Imagine if the NBA playoffs were the 6th most important thing that the NBA did in a year.
The NBA just added a new championship. Now they're going to have an in-season tournament.
Yeah.
That's crazy talk. You can do anything you want. There's nothing stopping anyone from doing anything they want.
Yeah, but but you're ignoring the fact that the NBA is one organization, and you're talking about one organization out of like 6 in golf, right? Like you can't. If you're the tour or whatever the new thing is called, you can't control the other. Like,
and they can't control you.
Yeah, but I think you just run the risk of like declaring the players a major of just everybody laughing at you and just like looking foolish.
That's why I wouldn't. That's why I would have to. It'd have to be something new.
It's very Live Golf-esque, considering they wanted to create their own major as well.
Yeah,
like we demand to be taken serious type of deal.
That's that's the risk that you run.
What's the worst that can happen?
I mean, the last 15 months haven't been great, so I don't know that it could get worse.
Yeah, maybe now's not the time.
What else? Scotty Scheffler's top 12 streak is now a top 25 streak, so we can just do that for a while. Any other nuggies?
Real quick on Scheffler. Oh gosh, yeah, we do. Real quick on Scheffler. His 4 tee to green performances this year: second at the Masters, first at the PGA, third at the US Open, third at the Open Championship.
Yikes.
From tee to green. Putting 50th at the Masters, 34th at the PGA, 37th at the US Open, 74th at the Open Championship.
It's a damn shame you got to putt the ball.
So what Ben Hogan said too.
Yeah, him, Cam Young, and Rory were just tremendous from tee to green this week, and just got smoked by Brian Harman's putter.
What did we have to talk about, Patrick? I didn't hear what you said.
Zach Johnson.
Oh, did you say Rome? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand. Okay, so Brian Harman is now going to be a top 10 player in the world, so he's on the team, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
Wyndham Clark's on the team.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Thomas.
Okay, let's start at the top, not at the bottom.
Scotty Scheffler, Wyndham Clark, Brooks Koepka, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Max Homa.
Okay.
That's top 6 right now before the Open.
You can throw Harman and Ricky in as locks.
Harman, Ricky. I'm at 8.
Okay.
Keegan.
Well, what about Morikawa?
All right. Morikawa. We're all good with that.
I think he's in. Yeah.
Cam Young.
Okay, this is where it gets weird because Keegan is like 7th in the standings, right?
He entered the week 7th.
Week 7th.
And if you have somebody, so I heard Zach Johnson talk about how there's more volatility in the standings this year because of the elevated event. They go on money. They go on. I wondered how long you were going to hold 9 fingers up there.
Not much longer. I'm exhausted.
So they go on money. So it makes it's out of sorts, like the way that they construct the standings. And Keegan won an elevated event. So I even though, normally you would take somebody that's just outside the qualifying, I do wonder if that elevated money sort of plays into Zach Johnson's thinking when it comes to somebody like Keegan, because Keegan's going to be interesting. If he doesn't do anything in the playoffs, he might end at like 10 or 11. It just depends on what everybody else does. So I think you have those 9, and then the last 3, I don't know.
Okay, so is Cam Young on this team?
Yes.
Kyle. Patrick.
So we have 9, and we have Spieth, JT, Keegan, Cam, Finau. I'm trying to figure out who to pick from. Finau, Burns.
Well, Spieth, do you not have Spieth in your 9?
No.
Put Spieth. He's going to be on the team.
Okay. We have 2 spots remaining. Is Cam Young on this team?
Yeah.
So what struck me the most is he changed his golf ball at the John Deere Classic, and the 2 starts have been great ever since.
What he changed?
He changed to the golf ball he used last year.
Which was what?
Yeah, left whatever. I didn't know.
Left dash.
Yeah. So if this type of tee to green continues, I think you do put him on the team.
Okay.
Is he a good fit for that golf course?
I think he's proven he's a good fit anywhere. Yeah.
I think so
where
too.
He's played well.
He's played well.
Both
everywhere.
Bombers and like short. Like he played great at TPC Potomac.
He was awesome at Harbor Town. He was awesome at Jackson. He was awesome at the old course. He was awesome. Yes, that game.
So you have 1 spot for Burns,
for Keegan,
Finau.
for Keegan, for Finau, for Burns, for Justin Thomas, for that's probably it. But I could get like Denny, McCarthy, and Kurt Kitayama. I have one spot for those guys.
Brian Harman
that goes
winning
to
really threw the wrench in my Denny McCarthy
DJ
fan club.
Yeah. I mean,
here's the thing:
Bryson?
if you're Zach Johnson, you will either be praised or criticized based off this one pick. Do you not pick Justin Thomas and you go with someone else like a Keegan Bradley when you have to go to Rome for the first time and try to win in 3 decades, and you leave someone with that Ryder Cup resume off the team? Or do you pick someone who is playing like not even like a mid-tier PGA Tour player this season?
You can't leave JT off the team.
You can't have him on the team.
I know.
You can't have him on the team. Right. I know. It's the same. I agree with both.
I think if you had to pick today, it would come down to, it's crazy that Finau would not be on, but I think it would
really in it.
I think it would come down to, are you taking JT or are you taking Keegan Bradley? Right?
I think that's
if you, I'm not saying that will be the decision. I'm saying if you were deciding today, I think that would be the decision.
Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley's won twice this year. Keegan Bradley's good, like a great ball striker who will fall on his golf club for this team.
Okay, he kind of has the same personality traits on the courses.
Locker
JT
room
too.
guy.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm taking Keegan.
No top 20s at the majors this year.
How many does Justin Thomas have?
Well, I don't know. The argument for JT is not on the course, right? I think ultimately, I think this is how it'll play out. I think JT will continue to be pretty lousy, and I don't think that they'll end up. I think somebody like a Burns or a Finau or somebody will have like a hot playoffs, and you just won't really have a spot for JT.
If he doesn't make the playoffs, he has no way of playing himself right, because one of those guys is going to have a good run, and now you're totally screwed. The best case for Justin Thomas is Jordan Spieth. That's the best case for Justin Thomas, and it's not.
Right, that partnership.
Move along. Yeah,
I think I don't know. Based on Zach Johnson's tone when he was asked questions about him this week, it sounds like he is leaning towards picking him.
I also agree with that.
I thought the opposite.
Oh, I thought it was like he's on the team.
No, I thought you can pull up the quote, but I didn't. Did you hear him talk, Patrick? I didn't hear him.
No, I'm trying.
I just saw the quote.
Maybe I did.
And it seems like did I? Me?
No, I thought Patrick did.
I heard it. I think it sounded like he was picking him.
That's what I
really. Okay. Yeah. Well, I didn't hear it, so I defer to you guys on that. Just reading it, it made it seem like, well, I don't know. We'll see.
But I also think when you're in that position as Zach Johnson, you're not going to, do what Brooks Koepka did to Matt Wolff, and like berate the guy who might be on your team. So there's definitely a political strategy to that when you're in the captain's chair.
Yeah, he's got the back
JT's not making it easy on him. That's for sure.
I've for sure been a JT has to be on this team guy like Greg, and he's like making me waffle. Like he's doing everything he can to like push me off of that.
You were walking the plank
right there. And
he's like,
I was dying on that hill, and he might have killed me. Like I might be gone.
You know how many events there are left in the regular season?
2.
Yeah, 2. The 3M Open, which Justin Thomas has to panic add to his schedule. And then if that doesn't go well, he's going to have to add Wyndham, and that's it.
God, I can't wait till he wins Wyndham and then goes like 5-0-0 at the Ryder Cup. It's going to be sick.
I also think the bar is very, very low for what he has to do. I guess he just has to get into the playoffs. Right?
He broke 70 once.
Yeah. If there's like any signs of life, I think ZJ is going to get there on it. But if he misses the playoffs, you cannot possibly. Here's the quote. The Question: how much of a concern is Justin Thomas's form at the moment? Zach Johnson. Well, as a friend and a roommate, always a great way to start, by the way. As a friend and a roommate, I'm concerned just because he's my buddy and I know what he's capable of and that sort of thing. He would go on to call him a stalwart in the event. I don't know the record off the top of my head, but I know it's pretty good. Then he would go on to say, bottom line, the game is really hard. There's going to be peaks. There's going to be some valleys. But he says, I know what he's capable of.
Yeah, read the last sentence there, Rick. I think this is what you're.
I might be slightly concerned, like I said, as a friend, but I'm not worried about him because I know what he does and I know what he's capable of.
Yeah. That might have been some of your own inflection there that you were throwing in. But
I read it like this, I might be slightly concerned, like as a friend, but I'm not worried about him because I know what he does. I know what he's capable of.
There's two ways. By the way, Brian Harman just put on a performance for the ages, and we're breaking down the syntax of this Zach Johnson quote. I think there's two ways to look at this. One is looking at the last sentence and put in saying he's in. And the way that I look at it is the lead where he says, I'm concerned just because he's my buddy and I know what he's capable of and that sort of thing. That feels like letting him down softly of I like this guy. He's my friend. That's not something to me, if you're leaning toward picking him, that you would lead with. But again, we're breaking down things we didn't hear based on transcripts that happened 2,000 miles away.
The other X factor is here's the real issue. If Tony Finau wins next week.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Because
he's out. He would be out.
Not control any of that. Right. So if you have a guy who's just on the outside, like Brian Harman just did this week, and Tony Finau goes back to 3M and wins it. Now it doesn't even matter if JT finished second, it's over.
Or if Burns finishes fifth in the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a scenario where Burns and Finau catch heaters. And what if Spieth falls on his face too? I mean, Rick, you said that's kind of the one thing propping JT up at the moment. I mean, there could be a chance that Spieth is the last guy on the team.
I do not feel great about the U.S.'s chances. I forgot. I was talking about this. I don't know if it was with you guys, but somebody, and it was like this. I mean, the entire European Ryder Cup team was in second place at one point today.
Yeah, it looked like the U.S. team was going to be absolutely dominant for so long. And it's really, I mean, a lot of these guys you can't believe you're questioning Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth being on the team. And Morikawa, it requires a little question and a thought. Cam Young requires a question and a thought. Even some of the guys that are on the team, like Max Homa, do we feel the same way about him that we have? I don't know. So it's not looking as clear cut as it did in January.
The Europeans are plus 185, USA minus 190.
Pound it, 185.
What else? Anything? Open Championship, Ryder Cup. Talk about the President's Cup if you want to.
I'm bummed that major season's over. It's so fun.
That's why the fifth major should be in July. It should be in September.
Sounds like you and Monty are texting. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to Sunday singles, Sepp Straka, Brian Harman, Cup on the line, a couple dogs going at it. And we're just all watching and taking it in. I mean, that is what this competition's all about. A couple dogs. I mean, we got an Austrian from Georgia who lives in Alabama who's going to put Europe over the top. How does that make sense?
Did you see this quote from Brian Harman?
Which one?
I've not seen anything from Brian Harman.
Brendan Porat tweeted this. He said, starting the final round of the Open with a 5-shot lead, Brian Harman tells Golf Channel he kept, quote, thinking about something Kirby Smart said. I'm not going to be hunted. I'm going to hunt.
He was probably in his hotel mirror last night, just barking at himself.
I did hear a great thing on the No Ain't Up podcast, not to call attention to other podcasts, but it was very good this week. And somebody on there said, it was just a commenter said, Brian Harman is who everybody wants Kevin Kisner to be.
Yeah. That is a fact. That's a great call.
It's such a, it is. It's like he actually is who people thought Kisner was.
Wow. All right. Well, congratulations, Brian Harman. You're a major champion. You're a top 10 player in the world, and you are on the Ryder Cup team. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
All right. It's been a pleasure, gents. Major championship season in the books. We don't stop. 3M Open next week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Wow, what a world. Big thanks, producer Josh, does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg DuCharme, he's available on Twitter at The Real GFT. Patrick McDonald can be found at Amateur Status. Kyle Porter at Kyle Porter CBS. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.